Now, if you clicked on this video, you were probably expecting to hear me rant about how Borderlands has woke writing now, or maybe you expected me to bring up things like Fleck being non-binary, a whole DLC around a gay wedding, or, some other talking point about how inclusion has ruined the game, or maybe you expected me to talk about a conspiracy theory about how video games have gone woke to push political ideologies. But this video is not going to be my opinion on political issues or anything like that at all. What this video is going to do is show proof that 2K Games has contracted outside consulting companies to inject woke ideology into their stories to change Gearbox's public perception from problematic to inclusive, and more importantly, improve their ESG scores. And by doing this, Gearbox has received cash injections and investments from the Embracer Group, BlackRock, Vanguard, meaning they don't actually care about these ideologies at all. They care about the investments they are receiving because of it. Now, the first thing we must understand is, what is an ESG score? Well, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And what an ESG score does is measure how well do companies address any sort of risk or concern related to those issues. Now, those terms are pretty broad, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Embracer Group's ESG fact sheet, because this is going to relate to Gearbox. Now, under the solid work section, they state, our ambition is to provide quality content and support a digital well-being and accessibility for all users of our games and entertainment. Under the main topic section, they list diversity and inclusion in games and entertainment, digital well-being, accessibility, player community engagement, and marketing. And on the next page of this fact sheet, Embracer Group states they support Agenda 2030 and its holistic approach to sustainable development that the UN has established. Now, where does the ESG come from? Well, in 2006, the UN, aka the United Nations, were actually the first to mention ESG issues in relation to investment strategies. The better a company is with these ESG issues, the more safe they are to invest in. And following the 2008 financial crisis, when people couldn't trust big bankers, aka investment firms, any less, a company called BlackRock became the largest investment firm in the world, gaining contracts from the US Federal Reserve and Treasury departments to manage $130 billion worth of bad debt formally on the books from that 2008 crisis. And BlackRock champions ESG scores. People couldn't trust big bankers any less, so if they champion these ESG scores, well, now all of a sudden they're trustworthy? They are now worth over $9 trillion, which, if we were to look at a list of countries by GDP, their net worth would be placed as the third richest country in the world. And there's another investment company called Vanguard, a giant investment firm worth over $8 trillion. They would be the fourth richest country in the world. And these two both heavily push ESG scores. Now, what do these two giant investment firms have to do with the Embracer Group, 2K, and Gearbox? Well, they are the two largest shareholders in Take-Two Interactive, otherwise known as 2K Games, and Vanguard is the largest institutional shareholder of the Embracer Group. And Gearbox itself isn't actually a publicly traded company, but 2K Games is their publisher, and Randy Pitchford acquisitioned Gearbox to the Embracer Group in a deal worth up to $1.3 billion. And the Embracer Group stated that they purchased Gearbox because they generated $1 billion in profit in 2019 and another $1 billion in profit in 2020. Now, Gearbox doesn't necessarily get that whole $1.3 billion that Randy sold them to the Embracer Group for. They received $363 million up front in Embracer shares and cash, a mix of the two. But to earn the remaining $1 billion, they must net at least about $1.3 billion in profit over the next 6 years. Now, the Embracer Group seems to basically just be another investment firm, similar to BlackRock and Vanguard. However, their focus is on gaming, given that they've signed with many other gaming companies. But to be able to merge with the Embracer Group and receive this funding, number one, you obviously must be a profitable company. And number two, you must adhere to their ESG guidelines. And given that Randy merged with them in 2021, he would have had to lay the framework for this in the years coming up to this with Borderlands 3, for example. And it's funny that Embracer lists 2019 and 2020 because Borderlands 3 came out in 2019. Now, Randy Pitchford has been embroiled in many controversies, so he needed a way to change public perception of Borderlands games and Gearbox as a company in the years leading up to this deal. And many players noticed a change in not just the quality of Borderlands stories, but also the tone of the Borderlands stories, from Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 3, as well as Wonderlands and New Tales from the Borderlands. Now, here is the biggest twist to all of this. What if I told you there was a company out there that exists and they are called Sweet Baby Inc. and they work with giant gaming companies to make them more inclusive and essentially inject woke ideologies. Now, I'm going to be covering Sweet Baby Inc. very briefly, but there is a great video where I learned about them by Griffin Gaming. I'm going to link it in the pinned comment of this video, which you should go watch after this one. His video covers Sweet Baby Inc. way more in depth and basically shows you all their ideologies. But just to cover them briefly, Sweet Baby Inc. was founded in 2018. Sweet Baby Inc. is a narrative development and consultation studio based in Montreal and working around the globe. Their mission is to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video games industry. They aim to make more games more engaging, more fun, more meaningful, more inclusive for everyone. Some of these services they offer have to do with writing, narrative, representation, and development. They believe you need diverse voices to solve diverse problems. Sweet Baby Inc. also provides narrative consultation at any stage of development. They boast a talented team with vetted industry experience to best help bring your story to life. They've worked on many games you can see here, and also many games that they haven't announced, whether those are previous games that they just didn't announce, or whether those are games that are still in development right now and not even announced to the public yet. But one game I would like to highlight here was that they worked on God of War Ragnarok, and they helped with narrative and character consultation with a focus on representation. Now, if you've played this game, you know that many people had complaints about how Kratos' personality was majorly turned down. And now you know why that is. And wouldn't you know it, Sweet Baby Inc. has been contracted by many gaming giants, Xbox Gaming Studios, EA, Valve, Ubisoft, and hey, you guessed it, 2K Games. Now, given that Sweet Baby Inc. was actually founded in 2018, I don't believe that this company specifically worked on Borderlands 3, given that Borderlands 3 launched in 2019 and it had already been in the works for many, many years. But it's possible that they could have, since they say they've worked on games at any stage of development. However, the fact that 2K Games has contracted them for other games, for sure, because, Sweet Baby Inc. has them as one of their clients, and we showed the importance of ESG scores to investors, it is not a stretch to say that Gearbox has aimed to make sure that Borderlands 3's story took much less risks than previous games. Here's some jokes they make in Borderlands 2.
Apologies, but when Claptrap speaks, I feel my brain cells committing suicide one by one.
They say Jack's drilling operations are causing those earthquakes. That, or your mom just got out of bed. Zing!
Access denied. Scans reveal subject is a racist hot dog.
What are you looking at, mustard sniffer?
Darn! I was sure the racist hot dog workaround would do it. Oh well, time to try again.
Psychopath!
Such kids ruining this country!
Will you?
Well, I say we deport all of them! All of them! It's my right! Get off my lawn, you moss-punching truxicants!
Hey, buddy, it's me, Roland. Let's kill Handsome Jack and then we'll all go out for milkshakes. No, I'm just playing. He's still really dead. Grabbed his Echo unit when I left.
Now, Borderlands 2 has also been criticized for their use of psycho midgets, essentially making fun of them as a large part of the game, and they even removed the term midget in Borderlands 3. They're now calling them tinks, which, funnily enough, a tink just actually sounds like a worse slur, so I don't know, maybe they should have just removed them entirely. And Borderlands 2 devs even managed to sneak a swastika into the game. Now, let me know if this looks like a swastika to you in the comment section down below, because it does to me. But in Borderlands 3, we have a giant celebration of how a robot is non-binary. Do I even have to make the joke about how binary is the most basic computer coding language? We have an entire DLC based around a gay wedding, which, okay, to be fair, Hammerlock was gay in BL2, so it's not like this was a retcon, but to make an entire DLC around it is pushing their inclusivity and hoping to get news articles to write about it. And let's not forget, Borderlands 3 story ends in girl power, with all the woman characters defeating the final girl boss and then jumping into the moon singing "This Girl Is on Fire." And finally, the last thing I'll show is this abomination of injected wokeness in new Tales from the Borderlands, and I definitely think Sweet Baby Inc. worked on this one.
Marty, I can smell your space calzones from here.
Ah, thanks. I need a new name for them.
Might also need to stop doing that problematic accent.
So really, my opinion on this is it does not matter what your politics are. The majority of people loved the story and humor from Borderlands 2, and a majority of those people hated the story and humor in Borderlands 3, describing Borderlands 3 as mostly annoying. And in my opinion, Borderlands 2 was also annoying a lot of the time. But what Borderlands 2 did have was edgy, offensive humor mixed into it, so people mostly enjoyed it. And Borderlands 3 just got rid of the edgy and offensive stuff to help bump their ESG scores, which only left us with the annoying side of Borderlands. And say what you want about some of these edgy, offensive jokes, people enjoy that kind of stuff. I mean, look at South Park, look at Family Guy, look at all the adult cartoons which do edgy and offensive stuff to get laughs from a ton of people. It works. And I'm not even saying, go cancel Borderlands 2 because they had a swastika in it. That is actually really messed up. But at the end of the day, they don't take those same kind of risks anymore with the future of the Borderlands series. And at the end of the day, I think that there is a degradation in the quality of the story and the humor with these series, and it is mainly to bump up those ESG scores and help fund these games and help fund the Borderlands movie, which most of us are expecting to be a train wreck. So that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for more Borderlands content. Come check me out on Twitch, where I've been streaming more of the older games like Borderlands 2 and TPS. We are playing the older games while we wait for the announcement of Borderlands 4 this year, and, we're going to find out what an abomination of a game that turns into. But I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.